Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today, we will be discussing how the ExpandIT solution works for service organizations, and more specifically, how ExpandIT's planning board and mobile client work together to empower employees. I believe most of you are familiar with ExpandIT, but for those who don't know, ExpandIT is a Microsoft Dynamics independent software vendor, and we specialize in service management. If I haven't met you already, my name is Julissa Gonzalez. I work on the marketing and business development side at ExpandIT. I also have Taylor Roki with me, who is a field service product expert and business analyst, who will be speaking in a few minutes. So just a few housekeeping notes before we begin. We are recording today's session. Everyone who registered will get an email with a link to the on-demand version within the next few days. The session will run for around 60 minutes, which includes time for Q&A. If you do have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to submit them through the Q&A panel on your Ring Central console so we can address them towards the end. And if for some reason we don't have time to address all of your questions in today's live event, please be assured that we will follow up with you directly following the webinar. So the agenda is as follows. We'll look at the objectives for the webinar. Next, we'll discuss key takeaways. Taylor will then take it over and get into the demo. We have allocated some time for Q&A at the end. And lastly, we'll finish off with next steps and additional resources you may use. So what is the main objective of today's webinar? The main objective of the webinar is to provide educational training on how the mobile client and planning board work together in the ExpandIT Field Service software. And during the training, Taylor will give an overview of the planning board, so sending SMS and emails to technicians from the planning board, viewing the status of each job or service order in real time, creating service orders and jobs directly from the planning board, and she will also go over key features on the mobile client. So viewing the schedule and job details, recording travel time, work time, and materials consumed, as well as capturing signatures, images, and documents out in the field. And yeah, so now I'll hand it over to Taylor to get started with the demo.
Hello, everyone. Today I will be demoing ExpandIT Planning Board and Mobile Client. The Planning Board is a calendar view or Gantt chart of what is scheduled and where there is available time for scheduling work. The Mobile Client is a dynamic application that is a real-time view of the planning board specific to that logged-in user. From there, the user can see the assigned work, log time, consume planned lines, fill out reports, and even documents and pictures can be attached from the field. The client can be accessible when in remote areas by using our offline capability. Okay, so let's get started. A few keywords that we will be using today are planner, and a planner is the person in the back office who is creating work orders or planning the work. They also are approving time, possibly work visits as well. We also have resources, and these are people, machines, equipment that are being scheduled. So people log into the mobile client, but they may need to bring a piece of equipment with them to the job site. So we are able to link those two, a person and a piece of equipment, to the visit to not book that equipment or vehicle, for example. And then we also are going to use the word mobile client, and that is the application that is used in the field. So ExpandIT reads data from the ERP and displays it in a way that is useful for field service. Our program can display documents found within the ERP as well. We support integration with Nav Dynamics, BC, AX, F&O, and many others. Within the ERP, we also support the different modules, including jobs and service orders, depending on how your system is set up. This is something you will want to discuss with your partner, and they will be able to explain the difference between the ERP products. Either way, we can work with you as the partner or customer to pull the appropriate data into our system from the ERP modules. In this demo, I will not be going into the ERP system, but beginning with the planning board, knowing that the order or job has already been created within Business Central. So here is our planning board. As you can see, we have dates up here on the top and names to the left. and then we have boxes in the middle. So the dates are filtered up to 30 days. You can use our date filters from and to, and you can go ahead and change them however you see fit by selecting the date and then selecting the date that you would like to filter to. So the names to the left, these are those resources we were just talking about. That's the people or equipment who are working or need to be on the job. The resource group, which is assigned at the resource card in your ERP, is what creates the dark gray line, which is what we call a pool. And then we have boxes in the middle, and those are visits that are being planned. So if there are multiple visits for an order or a job, you will have the same box planned multiple times across different days and possibly resources. And those visits, you can have multiple resources assigned, which are people or equipment. And then you can have multiple work orders per job or service order, which defines different work that may need to be done for a particular visit. And those are the boxes that we see on our screen. The data that is displayed within these boxes can be configured per customer. So for me, I always, when I come into our planning board, I always make sure that I can see yesterday's date as well as my dates forward. So I always go ahead and select my date, let's say the 24th, and then I can click update and it will refresh my screen and show me the 24th and today. And the reason we do that is so that you can go ahead and see the past work that was supposed to be done yesterday and make sure it was all done. We have filtering capabilities. So you can come up here and click filter, and clicking filter, these are your options you have. You can, let's say I only want to see North America and Denmark. I can select both of those and click update, and it will actually filter my planning board to just see those two departments or regions, however you have it set up. And that would make it for easier scheduling, easier visibility for you to utilize. Again, you can use any of these filters within the filter dropdown. We have departments, users, job statuses. You can select any, unselect any, and then click update, and it will refresh your planning board. So the next thing we have are saved views. So we have the capability of being able to filter down to whatever you want to see and then be able to save that view. So again, I've already filtered down, and now I can come to where it says view and click edit views, and I can type in a description, and I can mark this as default or shared. Default would be if you want this every time you come into the planning board, it will default to the settings that we have set. Shared, however, is a view that you can create, and it will be shared to all of your admin users. So if it's something that's only specific to you, you're probably not going to want to share it. So I'm going to click mine as a default, and then I can click save. So now it will show you that we are showing the view Taylor. Here are all of my other views and shared views. So you would always have this drop down and be able to go ahead and select a view that you want to see. And then maybe you would update your dates and click update, and it would be able to just be filtered down to what you had set. So next you would see is up here we have all of our statuses. They are color coded, and it is basically the workflow within the system. The colors and name configuration can be set for your business. So the first status we have is inactive. So this is mostly used if you are pre-planning your schedule but not wanting the mobile client to see these visits. So this is only visible to the planners at this point. Then you would move over to appointed. Appointed is when you're appointing work and wanting to see if the resource is available to do the job. This is used mostly for probably subcontractors, since they are needing to check their own schedules and make sure that that they're able to provide the work for you. Accepted, which is a light teal color, is in some cases used for businesses just being able to accept that work order. Maybe you have internal resources and you know that they're going out and doing that. For subcontractors, they can go into the mobile client and accept the job, and it will display to you from appointed, which is gray, to accepted, which is the teal color. So accepting means I'm taking the work. I'll do this job for you. And then we have a darker teal color, which is for travel. So that's when the mobile client has selected start travel, or meaning that they are traveling to the job or from the job site possibly. Then we have started. So this is when, again, the mobile client selects from the work order start, meaning they are working on the job. These are work hours for that particular job rather than travel time. And this is because some companies may want to see the time broken out, or they may even pay somebody a different travel rate versus the job work time. Again, every company is different, and our product can adapt to your company's business process. The next one we have is on hold. And that could be used if you maybe need to go run an errand or something to that manner. This is not meaning I am done for the day, but I need to come back. They would still want to complete that visit, and then a new planning entry would be created for the next visit or the next scheduled visit. We have our status in orange is incomplete, and that is if the mobile client user marks that they need to come back to the job site, and we will go over that when we take a look at the mobile client. But if they were to use that functionality, it would actually tell you that this visit was marked incomplete and turn the box orange. And then we have completed. So completed is when that visit is completed for the day. If the job is not done, then another planning entry would need to be made for the revisit appointment. So now we'll get started, and I will show you how to schedule a new job. So we do have two ways of scheduling. We have the first one where you will click schedule new job up here, and you can search your service order number, project, or jobs. And so right now I'm going to go to my service order, and the first way that we can schedule is doing a drag and drop. So by doing that, I could scroll down to who I want to drop this to, which is going to be to myself. And I can just click, drag, and drop down here to my name or the date, whichever one. And it's going to ask us if we want to move this entry, and we're going to say okay. And then it will pop up the same screen, so you can continuously plan. If you have a bunch of orders that you need, these service orders haven't been planned yet. As you can see, the one we just planned has now dropped off of our list. You can just continue to drag and drop these onto the planning board to different resources. If you know that this particular visit down here that we just planned is going to be more than, let's say, 2 hours, you can just drag the planned entry out to a later duration or a longer duration. So our other way that we can schedule is you can, again, go back to schedule new job. And I'm going to go down to our other one that we have. And this calendar with a plus sign on here, we can actually click this and be able to go into the work order that is created and be able to fill it out this way. So we can actually say, okay, I want to add this, let's say, to the Denmark pool as an appointed status, and we're going to put it on tomorrow for the 26th with a duration of 5 hours. We can go ahead and add it this way, click add, and it would actually add this as a planned entry. If I go ahead and click update and close, oh, we don't have a project. So if we were to do that, it would actually come over and drop a planned entry onto Denmark job pool. So that is two ways that we have to actually schedule our jobs. Now, to view the planned entry details, if we go ahead and double click into our entry that we have made, double click, again, that's opening up the work order, we can come here and look through all of our tabs. So this is really all of the information that's being pulled from your ERP system. So not all planners are actually in your ERP, so they may have no idea what's going on or the details behind this service order or job. So we have it all visible right here. So our first tab we have is called our details tab. So this is where you can enter a work description, you can modify the work description. So if we said, like, maybe we have repair water pump, you can type this in, and this is actually what's displayed on the planning board itself as well. So you can also change the order status. We have all of our order statuses here. There's a responsibility drop down. Maybe this is the person who's in charge of this work order, who's planning that work order. You have service order types. You can select any of these that you have. Again, if it's filled out on the ERP side, it will display it here as well. So then we could go over to our customer tab. So our customer, this is showing our actual billing customer, the work address. So the work address is where they're going out to do the job. So we also have a tab for tasks. This is the service item or tasks that are in the ERP on that order or job. You can add tasks if needed as well. So you may have multiple tasks that they're going out to do. If you need to add a task, you can click Add New and be able to select the task that you want to add. And then you can come over here to lines. These are what tells the mobile user what needs to be done, or is essentially the work order details. So planned lines, these are lines that are on the tasks or service items that come over from the ERP. You can always add additional lines if needed by clicking this green plus sign. We can select that it's a product. We select our task. If there were multiple tasks, you would have to select it. We could then type in a portion of our product name or the item number, select that and choose our inventory location. And let's say we need 4 of these. We can click Add Line, and it will actually add that line onto our work order now. So again, the ones that come over automatically are from your ERP system. So consumed lines up here, once this work order has started, it's tracking time, we're consuming these materials from the mobile client, the consumed lines area will begin to fill in, and these are lines that are being finalized. So we're saying we are using this, we have utilized and tracked these hours. The next one, I'm going to skip over planning, we'll come right back over to that. So comments, these are comments that we can actually send out to the mobile client. So if you had a, you want to let them know about something, please call client first. You can drop these notes into any of these boxes and messages and send it out. Each of them go pull into different documents or different places for viewing. So we have attachments. Attachments, this is where you can drag and drop any of your files that you want for the mobile user to see. They are visible on the mobile client. They can download them from the mobile client, make any edits, drop them back in if they need it to be seen for you guys. We do have the ability to bring over documents saved onto a job or order in your ERP system and be able to have them accessible here, or you could always drag and drop something else that you want. So we can open up our file explorer or whatever files you have and be able to click on the file and drag again, and you will see that it'll say move, and you drop it into the blue bar area. Now that it has been dropped on, it will download onto the work order, and now this is visible to your mobile client for this particular work order. So forms are filled out from the mobile client and will be saved here when finalizing the visit, and we will discuss forms more in depth on the mobile client. History, this is where you can see the customer history. So any service orders that have been scheduled in the past, forms, data that have been filled out, all the materials, dates, who was assigned to those service calls, that is all visible right here. And you're able to go ahead and filter down. You can see the orders, comments, forms right here. So you'll be able to filter all down to that. And then if we go back over to planning, again, you would see when we added this work order onto our planning board, it automatically created our planning entry. So planning entries are when you are adding or adding somebody or a resource onto your work order to make this work order visible on their mobile client. So we can add a second resource onto here by clicking add new, and I can go ahead and add, let's say, Emily onto this work order as well. We're going to appoint it, and we are going to put it for today. So I can go ahead and do that, and let's say that it's going to be 5 hours and 40 minutes. We can add our duration and click add. So now both Taylor and Emily are assigned to this work order. When both of them log into their mobile clients, they will both see this work order and can track and consume their time separately. So this is the work order. This is where all of the details come from that are visible on our mobile device. So now when you've added everything, you can go ahead and click update and close, and it will make the updates to the work order. So here again, we're back to our planning board, and you're able to see what is scheduled for today. So another thing we can do is we can add a new job. So adding a new job is what doesn't come over from the ERP. You're actually creating this job within ExpandIT, and then when it's finalized, that detail will be sent back over to the ERP. So we can go ahead and click create new job. Let me close out of this. Creating new job, you can select your customer that you want to create this for. So let's go ahead and select a customer. You could always search for a project as well. Let's say I want this health center one. We're adding that in. And you can even change your work description here. Again, the work description is what shows up on the planning board. So we're just going to say that this is a demo, and you can go ahead and click proceed with selected. So that is actually creating an order in the system and will be sent back over. So as you can see, again, we have all of our tabs. You can fill anything out that you need. The customer tab, this is pulling over from a project. You can edit this work address if you know that it is a different work address. You can add your task in. So adding a task saying, we need to access control service. Add our task there, and then go over to your lines tab. And basically you are just creating the order instead of creating it in your ERP system. So if I want to go ahead and add, again, we'll just do a quick water pump, add our inventory location, and say we need 17 of those. So now I've added my line, and that line is now visible onto your mobile client at that work order level. From here, again, we can go ahead and plan it. So I will plan it to myself right here, and we'll put it for today and click add. So now I have planned it. So you can add your attachments if needed, and I will go ahead and add one so I can show you on the mobile client, and I can then click save and close. And that is now going to add that to our planning board. So as you can see right here with my name, I have now 2 work orders assigned to me for today. And this one is the one that we had just created. All right, so that is how to add a job or create a job within the system. So now I want to show you being able to add coworkers from the planning board. So rather than going directly into the work order, you can add a coworker here. So if I go to the entry I just created and right click on that entry and select add coworker, it's going to pull up a list of all of our coworkers. So I can then go ahead and select who I want to add to our work order and click update. And it will now create a planned entry under John's name for the same time. And as you can see, there is a link there, and a link means that it is linked together. So I can click on one of those links and it will flash and show me that where the other link is. So this is helpful because if you move this, let's say to tomorrow, it's going to ask me if I want to move it. I want to say okay. It will move both of the entries to tomorrow so that you never have to go back and select both of them. Remember, okay, this is linked to Taylor, so I need to go back to Taylor's entry from today and move it to tomorrow. So they interact with each other, which is very helpful for those who are planning. So if I move it back to today, it will come back to today. So again, you can add a person, any of the resources that are here on the left-hand side, you can add that as a coworker. To remove links, you can right-click on the one of the planned entries and click remove links on selected items. So if you realize, okay, I don't want those linked together anymore, we can actually remove those and remove our links and be able to only move one or the other now. So let's say we said, okay, Taylor, sorry, you actually need to go out by yourself tomorrow. You can move just Taylor out to tomorrow. All right, so that is how to do coworkers. We have a capability with using maps. So we can go up here and click show map. And our map will pop up. It will show us where all of our, where we're all planned out. So we have entries everywhere right now. And then it is interactive between the planning board and the map itself. So you can always select one of your entries, and if you had two screens, it will actually narrow in on your planned entry that you just selected and show you where it is. So we are not a route management system, but more of a giving you the visual keys to see where work is to help you plan in groups or batches for appointments. This is also very helpful for those who are not great with geography and need to visually see where cities and county lines are. So on here, you can always zoom in and see where the where people are planned, where the work orders are. You could select one and see what the address. You can see who are users nearby, how far away they are, any jobs that are available nearby as well that haven't been planned. So you can also see all of this information so that you can plan appropriately for your company. So whatever is done on the planning board is immediately available on the mobile client as long as that mobile user is online. So we do have a capability to take a mobile client offline, which downloads the planned information and allows them to go through their steps and process throughout the system while capturing that data. And then when that person comes back into self-service, they are able to go back online to submit their data back to the planner and receive new data and changes. So our planning board and those mobile clients are interactive. As you make changes on the planning board, they are visible on that mobile client as long as they are online. So one other thing that we do have is being able to send messages to mobile clients, to text messages, an email. If you're sending an email that does not require that user to have a license, it actually goes to their email address. So the response then would go back to that email inbox and that the user is set up with. So this is all, again, part of user setup, how you have it programmed. So we have 3 different ways of being able to send messages. The first one is being able to send a message to the user pool. So if we wanted to send an entire message to all of North America, all these resources in North America, we can click the message button next to the job pool, and it will pull this up. It will say that it's coming from the email address set up with my user. We can add a subject, let's say it's COVID protocol, and you can add an active from and to date. So maybe you only want this to be active on their mobile client for a day, let's say. We can add that date in and add in our message right here. By doing that, I can then click send, and it will actually send this to all of their mobile client logins so that they can see what we were trying to say. This has been especially helpful for times during COVID to get information out to all of the users. So that is one way we can send it to the user pool. The next way is you can actually send it to a specific user. If you name on the left-hand side, you can click message and send a message directly to them. So again, we can say, please come to the office tomorrow, and you only want to let it go for one day because you don't want them to show up on the 27th. You want them to be there on the 26th. So you can say, please come to the office and send that over to them. I'll go ahead and send that one to myself, and it will tell you that the message has been saved and sent. Another way that we can send messages is to the user for the actual planned entry. So I can go to my planned entry, right click, and say message. And it will actually pre-populate a message to them saying that they have a scheduled visit on the date and time. And it's giving all this information. You can configure your system to show the information how you want. So again, you can do active to and from and click send. So that would send it to them for that. So another capability we have is adding absence or unavailability for a user. So it is not connected to ADP or payroll service, but you can enter that known time off into the system. So this will allow everyone to see that the user is unavailable to be planned for that day or duration of time. And the mobile client has the ability to request time off, and then you would be able to approve it. So if I want to say that Taylor was going to show some absence, I'd go to their name, select absence, and be able to fill out the vacation or sick leave request. So I could say that they're on vacation, no access, and I can put it from a date to, let's say, the 26th through the 27th all day, and I can click create. Oops. So we can go ahead and create that, and it would actually add a vacation time frame onto the planning board, so everyone can see that you cannot plan to them. So that is how to do adding absences. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to our mobile client right now so we can see it. This is our mobile client. It's a responsive designed application, which means it will fit the format of a phone, tablet, or laptop. You do not need to go to the App Store to download it. This is a website designated for your company that is saved on the home screen of the device, so it looks like an application. So right here is our application. We will click Service, and this will bring us in to the app. So the first thing I want to show you is we have our menu here, and we have different pages here. So the overview page is where you will spend most of your time. This is where the planned work and visits are accessible. You also have a week sheet for those who are submitting time. This is where their hours worked and approved can be found. It's more like a timesheet. Based on your company process, the mobile user does have the ability to create a new job from the mobile client while they're out in the field. Absence, this is where they can request their time off and see which of their requests have been approved. Order search is where the mobile user can search orders that are not assigned to them if needed. History is, again, something you can see to all of the work and attachments, consume lines, forms that you have actually done from your mobile client. And then messages, this is where we sent that message to the mobile user today. So we said, please come into the office tomorrow. They can then see that. Again, they can see up here in the top right corner a little envelope. That means they have an unread message, and that's a good indicator that they need to go over to messages. So the first thing I want to do is going ahead and explaining our clock in. So clock in is when you want your users to clock in for the day and clock out for the day. This clock in and out is only triggering the start and end to the day for time calculation. The user would then immediately go in and clock in hours against the actual work order of visit. So we're going to go ahead and click clock in. We're going to say, yes, we are clocking in, and then immediately go over to overview. Overview is going to show us all of our planned visits. So on here, at the bottom bar, you can see this is essentially the workflow of the work order or planned visit. So each icon is a separate page which contains information about the order. So the first one we have is planning, and this is to see what jobs are scheduled. You can see it in a calendar view. You can see it, let's click calendar, let's say. You can see this in a calendar. You can see it in a list view. You can see it by month, week. I tend to always use show list, and this will show you your entries. It gives you a little bit more information, in my opinion. So go ahead and select the job that you are going to want to work on. So I'm going to select the one for today, and it will take you over to the next page, which is our jobs page. So this is where the mobile user can accept, travel, start, and finish visits. As the visit goes through the workflow, it will also update on the planning board as long as the mobile client is online. So if I go ahead and click start, or let's do start travel, it's going to ask me if I want to update, and I'm going to say okay. And I will quickly show you back on the planning board, by update, you can see that it turned from gray to dark teal, meaning that we are traveling. So it is interactive as long as you are in cell reception. So on here on our jobs page, you can click the little car button, and it will actually pull up directions on how to get to the job site. You can see who's responsible for this job, any of the work order statuses, all those messages that we went through. You can see those messages if they were sent back and forth right here. So now let's go ahead and say that we want to start this job. So we're actually tracking our time against that job now. Okay, so we have started that. And now we can go over to our page called tasks. So this is explaining the task or the service item that is on the job itself. So that if there are more than one tasks, then it will show you the two tasks, and you can go ahead and select which task is being worked on. Based on user settings, they can even add tasks to the visit. Maybe it's something that is a routine maintenance or that service tech had time to do. It can be added for the approver to see that it was completed, and so that they do not have to plan another visit. So it's very helpful. The next one we have is our time, and time is basically showing linked resources. Anyone in your team or equivalent are shown here. You can configure the system to automatically capture the time like we are, and or you could even have them manually enter the time spent. The mobile user can go ahead and say, maybe they have to track their miles. So we can go down to miles and click the add button and say we will have, this was 45 miles. We can go ahead and add those 45 miles, click OK, and it will come up here to your time spent. So it will show you your time, your hours spent, and anything that you are adding. You can always add time for a resource, maybe that doesn't have a mobile client. You can go ahead and add their time here as well. I'm going to then move over to materials. So materials used, this is when you are consuming those materials. So we have planned materials, which are down here, which came from your work order. So this is what's showing up, telling your mobile client what needs to be done. So you can always come here and be able to add a material as well. So we can go ahead and select, let's say, it's because we need a location. Okay, so you can always add materials as well. We have the concept of a smart item. And a smart item is when possibly you go out to Home Depot, let's say, and get some duct tape, and they need to add that in as an expense. They don't know the item number. They can manually enter in all of the smart items and go ahead and submit the dollar amount that they had spent. So this is how you can go ahead and add planned lines. You can adjust any of the pieces or consumed materials. And then I'm going to actually skip over forms right now and come back to this because I want to show you attachments. So attachments are those ones that you can drop onto a work order. You can say, here is our work, maybe a diagram, a PDF, a picture. You can add all of that in, and that would have been uploaded by the office. So then you can always add attachments as well by clicking add file. So I can always add something. If you're on your computer, it will bring up your file structure. If you're on a phone, it'll bring up your camera or photo album. So I can go ahead and add something, and if I needed to add a comment, say this is the master bath, and click OK. And that will add this to the work order that can then be visible in the planner client. So if I go back over here to forms, these can be required before the start of a job, before the job is completed, beginning of a shift, maybe something like truck maintenance checklist. And all of these can be defined by the customer. They're managed and maintained by the customer, so they can be configured at any time. So they have the capability of being printed or emailed, and then they are submitted and will stay with the history of that work order and can be viewed whenever from the history on the planner or mobile client. So right here we can go to, let's say, our COVID-19 one. You can predefine all of these questions asking yes or no, NA. They have to sign something. We're saying we need to sign, so we can sign that, click OK, and it will submit our signature. Again, we're filling this out. We're displaying all of this in an easy way for the mobile user right now. All of this comes back into the tables and can be displayed out onto maybe a specific form that's required by maybe government, and there's specific fields that have to be there. All of this data can then pull out and go onto that form and be submitted in a PDF. So when I'm done, I can fill all this out, click OK, and it is now saved onto the work order. You can email this out by clicking the black arrow right here, and you can type in an email address, let's say, and go ahead and send that off to them. So if it's somebody that needs that form right away, maybe it's a customer, you can go ahead, they can sign it, and you can send it right to them. So that is all of our different tabs down here. So now if we want to come over and say we are finished with that job, we want to close out our visit, we're done for the day. So this is maybe you might need to even come back again, but you want to still complete this visit. You want to say, I'm done today for this. Again, it's going to ask you to update the planning board. You want to say yes. So once you click on finish, a screen will pop up. So we can then view everything that we have submitted. So our time, you can see the time that has been spent. You can see any materials that were utilized and consumed, any forms filled out right on here. Now we have the ability also to say, are you coming back later? Maybe you do need to come back later, and you can click, yes, I need to come back. And it's going to update our task status. And you can select the date that you want to come back. And if this is part of your business process, you can enter that date, the duration, maybe it's only going to take 2 hours, and you can plan it to a person or yourself. You can select any of those. So if I left it to myself and click finalize visit, it will actually create a planned entry on our planning board for tomorrow on my name. And again, because we said we need to come back, our status goes to incomplete. So it is interactive that way, where it will tell us, here was our one that we did today, and it planned another entry to tomorrow starting at 8 a.m. So it is very interactive. Again, the come back later, that is a business process if you guys are going to be using that. So this is the end of the demo, and I will hand this back over to Jaleesa.
Thank you, Taylor. And so now we'll take some questions from the audience. And the first one I have here is, so does the mobile client have offline capabilities?
So yes, we do have the offline capability. It does require that user, when they are back in reception, to come online, which will send the data back to the database and update the planning board. And at that same time, it will download the new data that had been assigned to the mobile user.
Perfect. And then just another question we have is, so how long is historical data available in the mobile client?
So the data is there forever. So we do not erase any data. The history is from the mobile client. They're able to utilize the history button in both mobile and in the planner client to see past work.
Okay, perfect. So those are the only questions I'm seeing now. And of course, if anybody does have additional questions, I will display my contact information, so feel free to reach out. So we'll move on to additional resources. So there are a few additional resources that are available for your use. And as mentioned, we will distribute the recording afterwards. So you'll be able to go over the training once again and use it as you may like. And we also do have other educational videos on our official YouTube page. And we will have other educational webinars in the coming weeks, so stay tuned for those ones as well. As well as if you do have any topics that we have not covered and you would be interested to see, please feel free to reach out to me. And lastly, if you are a customer, you can always contact support at ExpandIT for any technical support. And sorry, I think so it seems that there are some questions that are submitted, but I'm unable to view them. I've made a note though of who has asked them, so I will reach out to you directly following the webinar. I'm just not able to see the questions right now. So with that said, thank you everyone, and again, we will be distributing the recording. For the people that have spoken out in the chat, I will reach out to you directly following the webinar, and that concludes the presentation. Thank you everyone, and have a great day.